In this video, we're going to look at standard unit vectors. It's just another way of expressing vectors. So let's say we've got a vector 5 across, 2 up. So that's 5 across and then 2 up. But in fact, let me just call it V1, V1 across, and V2 up. So we can rewrite this as one vector plus another vector, because if you look at this vector is saying V1 across, 0 up. So V1 across and then 0 up. So we're not going up at all. It's going to be 0. And then we've got to add it to this vector. This vector here is going to be 0 across. So the across here, but it's 0. So it's not moving across at all, but it's moving 2 up. It's moving 2 up. So this here will be, well, I hope you can see that this thing can be expressed as this thing plus this thing. Now from here we can factor out the V1. V1 is just a number, just like up here, it's just the number 5. It's just a number. We can actually factor it out. So this thing here will then become this. Because if I were to give you, let's say, 3 times a vector, let's say a vector 2, 4. This is a scalar. This is a vector. So you can simply do this times this times this. So that will then give you 6, 12. But then I can actually factor out the 3. So the point here is that this thing here is just a number. I can actually factor it out. Because, well, if you factor out the V1, that will then take you to here. Now, if you're here, you can actually do this. This times this, that will be V1. This times this, that will be 0. So this, you can actually factor out the V1. That will then take you to here. Do the same, and then that will then take you to here. What you've got here is a scalar multiplying with this vector, but this vector is of magnitude 1, and it's only in the x direction. So this is your standard unit vector. I will explain more on that later. But if you look at this, it's just a unit. It's of unit length 1, and it's in the x direction because there's no y direction here. It's just in the x direction, and you can imagine this thing here as being 0 in the x direction, 1 up, and its unit is of length 1. So you can imagine this as being like this, unit 1. So now, hang on, let me just clear this up, bear with me. So you can imagine, you can imagine this thing here as being this arrow here in the x direction, and then you can imagine this thing here as being of length 1 being in the y direction. So now you've got a constant here. In our case, up here, it would be 5. So 5 times in this direction, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we've got to add it to, well, in our case, 2 here. So that would be 2 in the y direction. So it's going to be 1, 2. So you can rewrite this. You can rewrite this vector as this whole thing here. Well, we assign this is a vector of length 1. So we assign a special name for this, I hat. So this is the same as this, and this thing here is in the y direction, and it's of length 1. So you can imagine this as being j hat. So this is our j hat, and then this is our constant. So yeah. So let me give you another example, but in 3D. So in 3D, let's say we've got a vector 2 in the x direction, and then 3 in the y direction, and then 4 straight up. 1, 2, 3, 4, something like this. So our vector looks something like this. Well, we can express this as 2. So you can imagine, hang on, you can imagine this I thing here as being this red. Hang on, let me move this out here. So you can imagine this I hat here as being this. It's of length 1, and it's in the x direction. So imagine it as this, and then j is in the y direction, and it must be of length 1. So this is of length 1, and k would be in the z direction of length 1. So you can rewrite this vector as being 2 across in the I direction. So remember, this here is actually a vector. It is a vector. So it's like me giving you 2, and then our vector would be well, this is our I here. Alright, because we're working 3D, we've got to have three components. 1, 2, 3. So this is Ri here. J hat would be this, and then K would be this. So you can rewrite this vector as being 2 in the I direction, 1, 2, and then 3 in the J hat direction, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 K hat. Is there a hat there? No, there isn't a hat. There should be a hat here. Hang on. Let's give it a hat. So it should be there. And then and so on. The point is that you can rewrite this vector as this. Okay.